Before I get into this video, I want to tell you exactly who this is for. If you're an uncommitted junior sitting between 88 and 95 exit velocity, wondering why nothing is moving, and you're grinding every single day watching guys who work less than you get further, and you've tried the private lessons, the team lifting, and the Instagram workouts, and nothing has transferred for you, this is the exact video you need to watch right now. And I'm going to give you the 6 frameworks today that, quite frankly, nobody in this space is even talking about. Free. No pitch, no gatekeeping, just the exact system I use with every single athlete inside my program. By the end of this video, you're gonna figure out exactly why you're stuck, what is keeping you there, and what the next 90 days need to look like in order for you to show up next season a completely transformed version of yourself. And go ahead and put a 1 in the comments right now if you're an uncommitted junior or senior. Let's get into it. So the first framework I want to talk about is the development trap. This is when players confuse activity with development that actually moves the needle. And I need you to understand this before we move along with the other frameworks. You're showing up, you're working hard, but nothing is actually moving. Your EV is in the same place it was 3 months ago and your mechanics feel stuck. You have no idea why. Well, it's mostly because you're doing random things and you're hoping that these random things add up to something. You're piecing together Instagram workouts, you're doing ChatGPT workouts as well, and you're taking advice from coaches who've never tested what they're teaching or have even tested it on you with your specific deficiencies. And you're working hard in the complete wrong direction. I had a player come to me, his name was Ryan. If you follow me on Instagram, you're probably familiar with him. Ryan was an uncommitted senior and he was in the cage every single day. He was lifting all the time, but what he was doing was ChatGPT prescribed workouts and he was saving Instagram reels for his development. His exit velocity was stagnant and was literally stuck at 91 EV off the tee. But just 3 months inside the correct system, we improved his EV from 91 to 101 off the tee. On top of that, he committed to a college program. The same player and the same body, but a completely different system underneath him. Now that is the development trap. Working hard inside the incorrect system does nothing for you. And the scariest part is it's really hard to see that once you're inside of it. Because it feels like development, it kind of looks like development, but it is not development. Go ahead and throw a 2 in the comments if you feel like you've been inside the development trap. Because I promise you, most of you guys watching this right now are inside the development trap. Framework number 2 is what I call the attendance trick. This is what happens when your body adapts to showing up instead of adapting to the correct stimulus. I want you to think about it this way. Every rep, every swing, and every set in the weight room, your body is adapting to exactly what you give it. That is how the human body works. It gets better at whatever you feed it. If what you give it has no specific direction behind it, no sequencing, no periodization, and no plan built around your specific deficiencies, then your body simply adapts to just showing up. And it gets really good at staying exactly where it's at. And I get you, man, you never miss and you're always in the cages. And you're in the weight room when your teammates are still sleeping, but your metrics still haven't moved, man. That's not a work ethic problem, that is the attendance trick. There's a player in my program named Dan. Now, Dan was on the same program in Australia, by the way, for 8 months. And we got on our first call and the whole call was about him feeling stuck on this plan and how it wasn't moving the needle at all. But you gotta think, man, he was on that for 8 months. That must mean inside those 8 months, he at least thought that it was working. Or else by month 2, when he didn't see results, he would have hopped out right there. But it's simply because he got tricked. He showed up every single day and he gave it his 110%. And with that, he just assumed he was improving. And it took him 8 months to come to the realization he was inside the attendance trick. In just 5 weeks inside the Close the Gap protocol, we increased his exit velocity by 9 miles an hour. We increased his bat speed by 8 miles an hour. We've also dropped his 40 time by 0.5 of a second. In 5 weeks, compared to his 8 months inside the attendance trick. Showing up every day doesn't build you. Showing up every day with the right system and correct plan does. And most players never figure it out, or they do it really late, like Dan here. Framework number 3 is extremely important. It's what I call the testing system. And I genuinely cannot believe that more coaches are not talking about this. It's really simple. You should know with certainty if what you're doing is working or it is not. You don't go by feel, you don't go by hope, you don't go by guesses, you have to know. And right now, most of you are simply hoping that your training is working. And unfortunately, you show up, you work hard, just like the attendance trap, you do the program, and then you go to a showcase and you find out on the spot whether any of it transferred or actually works. That is not a development system. That's like a lottery ticket. You cannot be guessing all the way up to your showcases. So here's what the testing system looks like. Again, it's pretty simple. First, you have to test every 2 weeks. Test your exit velocity, your rotational med ball toss, and your 40 or 60-yard dash time. Now, these numbers tell you exactly what's going on inside your body. If you're getting faster, if rotationally you're getting more explosive, if it's actually transferring into your game swing. Every 2 weeks, guys, just these 3 numbers, that's really it. Now, if the numbers aren't moving in the correct direction, you have to adapt your program. But Nate, you mentioned we gotta focus on our deficiencies, we gotta test, we gotta know how to adapt. How do you really do that? Well, I use something called a force velocity profile. And I do this with every single athlete that I work with. Simply after we go through assessment week, those numbers tell me if you are a strength or a velocity deficient athlete. And this category changes exactly how I program for you inside the Close the Gap protocol. Because these 2 athletes train on a completely different stimulus from each other. And most players don't even run assessments on themselves, let alone put themselves in their correct respective category. And let me guess, man, you're probably following a generic program designed for nobody specifically. This is how we've seen consistent weight gain with the athletes inside the program. Patrick's already up 6 pounds in just 3 weeks. Levi's also up 6 pounds in 4.5 weeks. And Jack is up 8 pounds in 2 months. We didn't get here by not testing or not weighing ourselves. And we didn't get here by not identifying our specific deficiencies. In fact, this told us exactly that this was the right path to go on. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tested your numbers consistently, because I already know most of you definitely haven't. All right, framework number 4 is my favorite framework by far. It's what I call build, peak, and dominate. And this is the sole reason as to why my athletes see results when everything else they've tried has failed. See, most players try to train the same way every single week. Same exercises, same weights, same rep schemes, and same stimulus. And they wonder why they hit a ceiling after just the first few months. Well, your body is an adaptable machine. See, once it adapts to one thing, it needs an entirely new stimulus next. The ceiling is not your genetics, it's the training system. So Build, Peak, Dominate actually solves that problem by sequencing your training across 3 distinct phases. Build is where we establish and train your physical foundation. This is where we build your eccentric strength and your functional capacity. You have to build the foundation first before you really start stacking on velocity, moving quickly, and your rate of force production in the peak phase. Here, it's very important that we build up tendon and ligament health to make sure you can actually take on the load and the demand of the program. This phase is a huge identifier of your weaknesses inside the program. The peak phase is where we shift our focus into rate of force development and how fast you can move. This is where numbers really start to jump, and you can expect a massive gain in exit velocity in the peak phase, because you're finally ready to express your power. The peak phase is where Jack saw his biggest growth inside the program, gaining an additional 8 exit velocity. And realistically, the first 3 weeks of the program inside the build phase, he didn't feel like much was moving. But by week 6, he saw this 8+ EV gain just like that. Now the dominate phase is where we transfer everything from the weight room onto the actual field itself. Your rotational transferability, bat speed, and a lot of your mechanical work, making sure that what we did in the weight room transfers over to your physical swing itself. So these are the 3 phases built specifically for baseball athletes, and each one builds on the last. You definitely cannot get this from an Instagram workout. You can't get this from a generic team lifting program. And you definitely can't get this when you go in the weight room and just do what you feel like that day. You need the sequence. Without the sequence, your body never gets exposed to what it needs to be exposed to. You'll never know what your body is capable of if you don't. And hardly anyone talks about this next framework, the mental system. This one kills more careers than any on the list. I am a personal testament to that. I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm not talking about, hey, just visualize and breathe, or just believing in yourself, man. I'm talking about specific repeatable systems for your mental performance that works the same way as Build, Peak, and Dominate for your physical performance. Here's what I know from my own career. Listen, 2 strikes, everything changed. I stopped trying to do damage and I started trying to survive. I started thinking about the consequences of striking out instead of the pitch in front of me. But nobody ever gave me a system for that moment. I just white knuckled it and hoped it would go away, and it never did, and it cost me my whole career. And every single player I've ever worked with has a version of that same story. The spiral after the ABs, the overthinking in the big moments, the fear of failure showing up exactly when it matters most. Listen, the mental game is not separate from the physical game. It's just the other half of the same system, and it needs to be trained in that same manner. Inside the Close the Gap protocol, everybody has access to Coach Ross, a certified mental performance coach. He's played 4 years of high-level collegiate baseball, and he knows that two-strike moment intimately. He's been in it. And here's what it actually looks like. If you go 0 for 3 on Tuesday, you can text or call Coach Ross that same night. You don't have to wait next week like you have to do with your in-person hitting coach. You have unlimited access to his calendar, and you can book a call before your next game. He has 12 mental performance modules built specifically around your game. And this spans from pre-AB routines to your identity anchors to reset systems between at-bats. The mental game is a system, so treat it like one. And man, oh man, Liam came to me with his mental game completely destroyed. He was spiraling after bad games. He was a junior and he was playing every single at-bat like it was life or death because he thought he wasn't going to play college baseball if he struck out. And yes, we did end up gaining 9 exit velocity to his swing, but more importantly, he became the most dominant version of himself during his junior campaign. He hit .441, he earned an all-conference nod at catcher, he broke the single-season hit and RBI record at his school, and has gained numerous college connections because of it. Yes, we developed him physically through the Build, Peak, and Dominate framework. But what actually helped Liam the most was the mental system. Hear it from himself.
Some of my struggles before joining the program, I was always thinking like I wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough. Since joining, I really kind of just realized it was my mental game. That was a huge thing. I was being so hard on myself, putting so much pressure on myself for no reason. This has really changed. This has really changed how I view baseball, first of all. Like, it's not just changed me as a player. Like, sure, the physical is nice, but this has changed how I play the game and how I view the game for the better.
And that was all because of what we have inside the Close the Gap protocol, the 12 modules, Coach Ross, and our availability and accountability systems. So let's talk about your 90-day roadmap. This is what the next 3 months will look like if you actually execute the last frameworks correctly. Month 1 is the build phase, and week 1 is your force velocity profile. Your program is built around your specific deficiencies, and you start testing every 2 weeks. You establish your mental routines and develop your own mental performance system. Here is where your numbers really start moving. The foundation you built in month 1 is actually showing within your exit velocity and mechanical gains. This is the month where Ryan went from 91 EV to 101. And month 3 is your dominate phase. Everything here transfers. Your weight room gains become your bat speed and swing gains. You start moving extremely fast and your mental game is completely locked in. Your at-bats start looking differently, your approach improves, and you are not the same player you were 90 days ago. And this is the 90-day 3-step framework. Julian came to me stuck at 93 miles an hour for 8 months. He had watched his own swing 50 times trying to diagnose his own problem. He hit the ceiling of his own knowledge. 3 months inside the system, he went from 93 to 101 miles an hour. And he hit .430 his senior season and committed to a JUCO college. Jace had 5 months inside the system. He gained 12 miles an hour of exit velocity and his mental game completely transformed. This is the best he's ever felt as a player his entire life. Lincoln was 8 hours away from me and we never met in person once, and he committed to a nationally ranked NAIA program. This is not a coincidence, and this is the system executing correctly. The window is not waiting for you, dude. College coaches are building their boards right now. Showcases are also happening right now. The players who show up to next season as a completely different athlete started their 90 days this summer, and the players who show up the same started too late. So here's my take on the whole thing. You now have 6 frameworks that most players never know exist. The development trap, the attendance trick, the testing system, build, peak, dominate, and the mental game system, along with the 90-day roadmap. This is free, all of it, so take it and run with it. But if you are an uncommitted junior or senior watching this and you know you need someone in your corner who has built this system and executed it with over 50 plus athletes remotely, apply to work with me in the description below. I work with a small number of athletes at a time, and every single program is built specifically around you. Not a template, not a generic plan, your deficiencies, your schedule, your goals, and your fatigue. The best time to start was 6 months ago. The second best time is right now. Stand out and don't settle.